All right, so here we are. Behind company lines, we have John Leonard, the founder of Rocket. I'm excited to dive in. We had a fun little pre-show, which I'm sure we'll keep going. Before we dive into that, though, John, can you give a quick rundown of what Rocket is, what you sought to build, and where you're currently at?
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be on here. So thanks for having me on, Mike. Yeah, basically what we're doing with Rocket is super simple concept. It's an app where you can find new people to meet through events and activities, and that's really it. And so simple. I'm very surprised that other people haven't done this before because the value is right there. I mean, you talk to people about, hey, how much would you enjoy using an app that makes it incredibly easy for you to meet new people? It's like the smiles on these people's faces as they hear the concept, but then see the screenshots of the app are really incredible. And that's what keeps, us going as a company. And so that's basically what we're doing. And yeah, that was the reason, I guess, for starting Rocket was, the only technology out there for meeting new people are really dating apps, and most popularly are Tinder and Bumble. And so you get on there and start using them, and that's what I did. And I didn't like it because I saw the kind of man that I was becoming through using these, and it wasn't a gentleman by any means. And so it's just, I think everybody's personally responsible for their actions, but I think there's companies out there that create products that, I guess, pull people towards becoming a worse version of themselves or making bad decisions, or that just leave people unhappy, just objectively unhappy. And I think that's what Tinder and Bumble are. And so what I wanted to do with Rocket was to create an app that made it incredibly easy to meet new people, and it really enables people to rock their best version of their life. And the way they do that is by being more social, being more active, and that's what brings humans happiness. And so that's our goal with Rocket here.
Yeah, one of the things you said really made me think. Do you feel like the companies themselves are saying internally in their product meetings, say like Tinder and Bumble, hey, we want to string people along, bring out the worst versions of themselves, and use that against them, so to speak? Because intuitively, what I would feel is that companies very much trail what customers subconsciously desire, as opposed to what they explicitly say that they want. A guy might be on a dating app and say, I'd love to find a great wife who's responsible and has good family, but meanwhile he's dating multiple women, and just the companies will always follow the demands for what people actually do. Absolutely. As opposed to what they think they want. This is why there's much more money sold in candy bars than in broccoli. It's like
yeah, right. No, it's true. Well, and you touched on a fair point too, about saying, hey, if you talk to these companies directly and said, hey, here's what some people are saying about you, they would probably say the same thing that you said of saying, we just create an app, and this is all the app is. How people use it and the kind of behavior that's going on there is just, it's showing what people really want, just like you said, of a wife or something else. But I don't think it's that simple, because I think humans, have good and bad inside of every human. Like, I don't think, there's a specific human that's just deep down, just rotten, right? And I think everybody's got good and bad aspects to them. But what I think of the companies that create products that lead humans to be worse versions of themselves, I think it's because they didn't say, and they didn't explicitly have in their mission, that they want to create products that enable and make it easier for people to live the kind of life that those people want to live. And that's really the distinction. And so we've seen a lot of these apps that have become super popular that are leading for a lower quality of life, or directly, especially with the Instagram and Facebook scandal of saying, hey, these guys know what kind of depression is going on here, what kind of suicide amplification rates are going on because of Instagram. What we're doing with Rocket is really a cultural shift, because you look at our past decade with these this surging in tech companies like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Tinder, and Bumble. and look around at our culture, because what's going on right now is we've got a culture where people are lonely, depressed, suicide rates are through the roof. I know in Colorado especially, they're declaring it, a mental pandemic now. But men especially, it's getting really bad out there for mental health and depression, isolation. And then you start looking at societal factors of people are having far less sex nowadays. Porn is shooting up, and it's like, okay, we've got all of these factors here, and it's very easy to say that they all factor into each other. And what it comes down to is that there's less human socialization going on. And that's what we're doing with Rocket, is saying, hey, let's create technology that actually enhances people's lives by giving them an opportunity to do what makes them human, which is socialize, right? Meet new people and get to know people for who they are. And that's really what distinguishes us.
And do you feel the socialization component is in person by necessity?
Yeah, in person. Yeah, I mean, I think basically what these companies like Facebook and Instagram have realized is that they can make a serious amount of money by creating this pseudo socialization online, where people have this innate desire to socialize, but they just say, we're going to create this synthetic socializing environment so that people can feel like they're going to socialize, but really it's all inside of our environment so that we can make money through ads for that. And they're scared to do the real value, which is what people want, of saying, hey, I want something that makes it insanely easy for me to meet new people, go to new events, and really do things that make me genuinely happy inside, instead of sitting alone at home, scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through TikTok, getting depressed, or just like wasting your time alone. And that's really it.
Yeah. It's such an interesting concept because it's nuanced in so many ways. And it's like happiness is a fairly abstract concept that can be experienced in different domains, right? You can be happy when you're on a roller coaster. You can be happy when you win $1 million. You could be happy just walking down the street. And so the context of the story is what determines whether you're effectively, I think of happiness as, are you satisfied with the story that's your life? And in particular, right now, you can be happy right now in this podcast, and then I go downstairs and there's chaos going on, and I'm all of a sudden not happy. So it's like, it's in the moment contextual. I think the trajectory of society on suicide rates, loneliness, general mental health issues is a sweeping trend that is instigated by technology. It's instigated by our physical separation, but it's not explicitly that. I don't think you hand humans a phone and then all of a sudden they become 100%. Lonely and depressed. I think it's
exactly.
What are other ingredients in the soup here? It's like, one is that our social validation, our social reputational scores are digital. They are digital. So I have followers on Instagram and Twitter, and that very much represents the social hierarchy that we once had in communities of networks of, say, a couple hundred people or 1,000 people, where like, I know John is a great guy. I respect what he says. I listen to him at church or the town hall meeting, wherever people gathered. And that's sort of collectively recognized. And there's still that extent to some degree, but now it's quantitative. And when it's quantitative, we naturally want to bump those numbers up. And we peg our value to other people on that quantitative digital realm. And the chase of that, the pursuit of like higher numbers, more, we see this in money. Like the more money, the more followers I get will bring me this point of happiness in the present moment. And I think that that's the illusion. And in some level, I do believe that it's necessary for us to feel the pain of loneliness and sadness and mental health to
Absolutely.
Realize that's not the thing worth chasing after. And therefore we can bounce off that wall and, collide into something else. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but
it's true. I see it as some people say exactly the thing that you said of, technology is bound to make us, isolated, et cetera. But what I see it as is, the past 20 years, we've seen this exploding growth of the internet and of consumer technology that's just saying, hey, we've got this new thing, what can we do here with it? And so on one hand, it's not that crazy to think that you have to push the bounds of what's good to realize, okay, this is bad technology, let's just switch the path and now start creating technology that enhances our life. And the way I see it with Facebook is saying that they basically created this technology that would enhance the negative aspects of humans, which is a need to compare yourself to others, of gossip, and of envy. And they said, oh my gosh, these are going to spread a lot quicker. It's going to be a lot more potent than amplifying the good aspects of human. And so that's how these companies spread. And now 20 years later, it's coming out, wow, there are serious devastating effects of these products. And that's why, Facebook is pushing so hard on these third world countries now who don't have Facebook, because they're like, we've already like ruined culture in America here. We've got to go and spread out because they just don't like us anymore in America. But what you mentioned about the follower count, right? Of saying, hey, I've got, 500, 1,000, 2,000 friends. It's just not natural. And that's where the part of, if technology isn't emulating real life and just amplifying the good aspects and removing the bad aspects, then it starts to get really harmful for humans. And that's the thing of saying it's unnatural to know 500 people. It's unnatural to gauge your social wealth or your social status off of how many thousands of people follow you here on Instagram. And that's where it's starting to lead into depression.
Man,
and we're doing something a lot different. Or go ahead.
I wonder about that. Like, in some way, I feel it's the most natural thing. It's the most natural thing to desire a following. Like, if you think about what we are as people, social beings, it's like we crave attention. Why do we crave attention? Attention is quantified in terms of followers. We crave that because that's how we validate our self-worth. If no one pays attention to us, then we're on the street and we're homeless. I mean, that's the quintessential bottom of society peg where you don't seek to be there. And we want to help people who are in those places. So therefore we can recognize that's not a place worth admiring to go. And then the opposite of that, the opposite of the homeless person that gets no attention, is the person who gets all the attention. They're everyone follows them. They're the most followed people on social networks, and that spectrum feels almost hardwired into us to want that. It's I draw attention is pretty analogous to power and influence in the world, and it also is a sense of meaning. We want meaning. We want to be paid attention to. We want that social currency. So I think that's like, and I think of Facebook too as being the company that happened to be first, but they very much solved the problem. Like they solved the problem of, picture in the 1930s, we're coming off, 50 years ago, the Irish famine happened. Millions of people are starving. The United States says, hey, we want to solve this food problem. Therefore, we're going to subsidize all corn production so no one starves. Fast forward, no one's starving in the 80s and 90s, but now we're producing super cheap, super low nutritious food, and now people are overweight. So I think that we solve one problem and end up in another. And I think that the Facebook solves one problem so well that it creates another problem. And the problem that it solves so well is connection. It allows you to, call up your grandma, but you can post it online. You have immediate connection to everybody. But that's all of a sudden super overwhelming because now connection means nothing. Now it's like you can connect to everybody and it means nothing anymore.
Well, and what you mentioned is really key about the balance, like take the homeless person versus the celebrity, attention is very key. And all of these things that are built into social media are innate human drive aspects that have come from the top psychologists in the country and built into their products, whether it's the Tinder swipe, to get your mind going like a casino, or, your follower count or likes on a photo. I mean, it's all just built into us that they're playing. But what you said about the balance of a homeless person versus a celebrity is key because there is no balance on Facebook and Instagram. And that's what's driving people a really, hard in a mental aspect. And it's like the Shakespeare quote of fame is the name of the mask that eats into the wearer, right? And being a celebrity is not natural, right? It's not natural for humans. It's a natural desire to crave attention. But once you get to that level where you've surpassed the balance and now you're at the abnormal, that's why you see, go through the list of celebrities of, Johnny Depp, Tiger Woods, all these people. Fame is the name of the mask that eats into the wearer, because it's not natural to know so many people, to have so many people looking at you.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there needs to be a technology that says, wait a minute, let's look at, what's natural for humans and then what's good for humans. To say, okay, knowing a decent amount of people that you actually physically know in life, or giving everybody the illusion that they can become a celebrity, and that a celebrity is good, and that you have the possibility of becoming a celebrity. Both of which are creating huge mental health crises because of that. Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the celebrity quest is the shadow side, the dark side to the chase of attention. It's like you want attention in the sense that you're, I'm looking at John and I'm respecting what he does. I'm looking at his characteristic, his traits, his personality. I'm saying, oh, I want to be more, calm. I want to be more aspirational. Whatever the character traits we see in each other, and that's what drives a lot of attention. The shadow side is when I'm selling things, I'm advertising things, I'm displaying characteristics that are attractive, but you don't actually want. When I look at I think of like Jake Paul, the influencer, quite a few minute follow. Like he has a lot. He's fun to watch. He has my attention. Trump is the same way. Like Trump has the attention of a lot of people, but you don't look at him and think he clearly displays character traits that I admire. It's a different kind of game. It's like I'm on stage and I'm just I'm performing, and that performance is, in a way, deceitful. It's in a way like I'm here to entertain, but at the same point, I'm not providing any substance to it. I think of this as being the opposite of this would be somebody who's like Martin Luther King Jr., where you admire him because of the message that he has and the characteristics that he has. I think Jesus, in many ways, was this concept. This is like the concept.
Yeah, Jesus is the literal prototypical.
Yeah, prototypical.
Man,
right. For this idea. Super interesting.
Yeah. Well, what you touched on with Trump is interesting too, because he was one of the few presidents that I think it was like a recording of like 10 years before he became elected of when someone asked him, like a news person asked him, hey, would you become president? He's like, I really hope not. I really hope someone else does, because just getting into that position, it just attacks your life, fame, celebrity, power, and it's just not natural for humans to do. And that's where you've got like this Roman story of, I think, Cincinnatus of, goes up to battle, leads Romans legions, and then goes back to his home and stays out of the public eye. That's what's good for humans, of saying, no, even though it's natural, you have a desire to want celebrity status and want fame, it's not good for you.
It's not. I think it's not normal. It's not the typical experience of life. Right. But it's almost like you kind of.
You're saying it's not normal, but it could be good, or what are you saying?
I think it's not normal, but it's essential. I think it's in a picture in a society. You need somebody to be the ultimate decision maker. I think a president, a king, a queen, like these concepts arise naturally. They arise in animals too. There's an alpha male of a group of chimpanzees, and this is true in other hierarchies of animals. But it's obviously not the normal, because there's very few people who end up in that position. Yeah. The question is, how do you? Well, there's multiple things going on. One is, how do you get the right people at the top to help us move in the right direction? The other is this related to the fact of people experiencing more stress and mental illness?
Well, for both of those factors, for the first one of you definitely do need people at the top. But then again, that's how the American political system was designed from the beginning, of saying, no, these are not, politicians. These are people called up from their normal jobs to go serve the people for 4 years, etc. But now, just because human nature corrupts, that's just how it is. Now we've got people who serve 30, 40. I mean, they grow up to get out of college and they become a politician, and they're a politician for the rest of their life when it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be you go, you serve your people and you come back.
Yeah.
But then on the second aspect of the loneliness that's going on, I honestly think the biggest factor of the loneliness, depression, sex going down, porn going up, is because people just aren't physically, in-person social anymore. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with our culture right now.
It feels to me like the reasons for that are quite clear. With the internet, people find more utility, more efficiency in connecting remotely. We're talking in a podcast. I didn't fly out to meet you in person. It's more efficient to do it that way. It's more efficient to text people, call people than it is to drive over and hang out with them. So on some level, you're introducing more friction or more, you're offering the opportunity for people to connect in person, which requires more effort. And so the effort that people expend to get together, to coordinate a time, a place, an activity, has to be worth it. And the worth it is where you look at the difference between the 2D experience and the 3D experience, and you say, where is it exactly? Talk more about that. What do you think?
Well, you said two very important words there, and it's worth it. And that's one of the biggest things that we've built Rocket on is those two words of worth it. Because I pitched to an investor like a month ago or something, and he said, John, people don't want to be social. I mean, you get on a plane, you don't talk to the person right next to you. You go to a coffee shop, you don't talk to anybody there. People are going out on far less dates, which is why, porn use has gone through the roof, right? Even with Tinder, where you're swiping right on people, it just, turns into sexting with Snapchat, and people just go out less, and it all comes down to two words, worth it. Because people have, with the internet, they've got built-in entertainment. They can sit in their apartment and watch Netflix, TikTok, YouTube. They can watch movies, anything. If they get on a plane, they put their earbuds in. That's why they don't talk to you. And everybody's doing this, saying, hey, is it worth it? Is it worth it to go out to this event and meet new people? Or is it going to be extremely impossible for me to find someone who I'd actually like talking to and getting to know? Same with a date. Is it worth it to go out on a date, or should I just stay here in my apartment alone? And that's the big thing, is that we've built up all this technology just because it's really easy to create revenue through this technology that keeps you isolated, Netflix, TikTok, etc. But we haven't built any technology up for what people really want, which is, to find people that they actually do enjoy spending time with in person. And that's huge for my generation of, 20-year-olds, whether that's in college or, just getting out of college or working remotely. It's not that people have tons of people in the city that they are friends with and they just text with because they're, they don't want to go and do something. It's because people don't really know a lot of people, where they are.
So
that's
how does it work in practice? Either Rocket or what you can envision in the future, today or in the future. Is it group meetups where you're organizing people to get together and meetup style where they're doing something, or one-on-one platonic friends, or?
I think it's, a lot of people are different. A lot of people are going to have their own, their wants, their own proclivities. And what we're doing with Rocket is just leading the wave of technology that's created to actually enhance humans' lives and give them an opportunity to live the life that they really want to live. And a part of that through Rocket specifically of saying, hey, now it's incredibly easy to find new people to meet through events and activities. So you can go onto Rocket, say, okay, show me all of the events in my area, and then see, who's going to this one, so that when you fly into Austin, you're traveling or something, boom, you can see the events going on. Or maybe you're just at home in Austin and you're like, okay, I got to get out this Friday night. I wonder if there's a sports bar throwing an event. I'm gonna go check out to see who's on there, because I don't want to walk in blind. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't go to events nowadays, because they don't want to walk in blind, not knowing if any of their friends go or knowing who else is going. And that's a huge part of what we're serving. But let's say, you also want to find someone to go hiking with. You can click into an activity, tap in there and then scroll through all the people who do want to go hiking or skiing or go to brunch, play Pokemon Go, go on a one wheel, whatever it is. Like, that's kind of what we're doing. And if you think about it, like for restaurants, I mean, if you go to a new city and you're like, okay, I just moved into a new apartment, I want to go to Chipotle, right? Because I really love Mexican food. Well, imagine if you didn't have the Maps app. You know, like what would you do? Like just go out and drive around? It would be impossible. But that's the situation for, you know, humans connecting, of saying, hey, wherever, if you're in a city, you've got thousands of people within a 1 mile radius. It's statistically impossible that there's not someone out there who enjoys the same activities you do, has a personality and a lifestyle that you vibe with, who is also, you know, looking to do something with somebody. And so that's what we're doing, is saying, you know, we're just connecting people, but not on an environment level, as just a tool to say, get out there and go rock your lives.
So is it heavily event based, where you're pulling in, and
We're focusing on events. Yeah.
do you pull in events from some, is there like central databases of events, or is it totally fragmented where people?
Well, it's just a really, it's a, you know, a crapshoot out there right now. And so we're focusing on launching in colleges, and specifically with Greek Life, to get them to throw their events on here to make it incredibly easy, because we want to create a central place for events. And if you look at college campuses right now, I mean, you've got, you know, if you're throwing an event, you've got, you send out the email to your mailing list, you create infographics and put them up on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, right? And then you post flyers all around campus too. And then you send your event up to the student activities office to put out on their newsletter. You know, and it's just a ridiculous platform that everybody's doing everything, and it's just not effective. And so what we're doing is basically we're going to be focusing on college campuses and say, hey, this is a central place to host all of your events, where you can find new people to meet through them, or just make it incredibly easy to, you know, go to these events. Because, you know, if you're throwing a talk or, you know, a concert or something at college, the first words out of your mouth if someone suggests an event to you are, I don't know, who's going? And that's going to be our, you know, number one aspect of that.
So the idea being, I don't know a person at the event, but they look interesting. So it's not as much finding people that you already know at existing events. That would be similar to what I think Facebook
like half
does.
and half.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's the thing too. If, you know, some people say Facebook events. I've never used Facebook events. You know, nobody at colleges use Facebook events. I mean, Facebook basically got so big that they're becoming bad at everything they do now. You know, marketplace, like they've got like Facebook dating, you know, they've got so many things that they're not doing a lot of things really well. And so basically what we're doing is saying we're doing one thing really well, which is we are the app to meet new people and, you know, go to events. So it's about half of saying, hey, you know what, I want to go to the events that my friends are currently going to, right? And so we sync people's phone books if they want, so that we can show them, hey, you know, your real life connections, not someone you follow, like your actual friend is going to this event or hosting this event. Boom, you can see that. Or saying, hey, let's say you want to go to this talk or something, but you don't know, like none of your friends want to go. So you go on there and see who's going, and you can click into their profile. And it all comes down to the profile. Like, can you design a profile that can show who someone really is in under 2 minutes without even sending them a text message, right? And that's what we spent, you know, I spent over a year designing it to make sure that, wow, you can actually get a feel for someone's personality and lifestyle in under 2 minutes from the comfort of your own couch without even sending them a message. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to go to that event and say, hey, it's Joe, right? And then talk about whatever you connected with him on his profile about.
What are the things, after you've thought about this for a year, what are the attributes on a profile that people are most interested in?
Yeah, right. This is not a simple task. And there would be nights where I just go out for long walks and think, okay, you know, when people talk to each other, you know, what are they looking for? How do people get to know each other? Because that's how we can, you know, design a profile that basically condenses an hour, you know, of getting to know each other, whether it's physical, social, all of these cues that go into it. And some people have said, oh, create a profile without any picture so that they can actually get to know. But really, everything about our app, we just model off of real life and enhance it, you know? And so imagine you walk into a networking event, or you walk into a classroom, or you walk into a party. First, you know, you look at the person, you know, as a visual right there from the beginning. It has to be, right? But then you go up to them and then you start talking, you know, with surface level personality questions. You're getting a feel for what their personality is. But then as you keep on going, you get a feel for what their character is, you know, not just what their job is, why they love their job, right? I mean, that's where you have a great conversation with someone. And then you also get a feel for their lifestyle, you know, whatever that is, what activities they enjoy. And so we said, okay, that's the process of getting to know someone in real life. Let's put that in an insanely, you know, intuitive profile. And so that's basically what we did, of saying, you know, let's analyze human interactions, real life, and just enhance it. Boom, that's it.
And would you get into creating events or like hosting events the way kind of Meetup
Yeah,
does?
so Meetup, and that's the thing too of like, there's group psychology, which you always want to stay away from, and that's big with Meetup. Is that boom? You sign up to Meetup, you join groups. Once you join a group, it's called group psychology, and you lose any obligation that you had to actually participate in any way because it's now dispersed over everyone, right? But the second thing that they really missed out on, I mean, the whole point of meeting new people is the people aspect. And with Meetup, they don't even have a real profile. You know, it's just a picture and a bio, which is a huge miss there. So what we're saying is, hey, we're an app where it's really easy to find new people to meet. So that means really easy on the finding part and really easy on the discerning, you know, which people you want to meet. Because that's you have to have both of them together.
Do you find it's a very specific age range? Because I'm certainly thinking about my own life and thinking, boy, myself at 18, 24, 29, I'm 34 now. At those ages, I'm interested in such different types of relationships, whether it's like people to explore the world with, just people to get to know, period. Close friends that I want to build a long-term relationship, business partners, dating women, seriously dating women, which are different categories. Where do you see your target?
Well, a couple things. There's a natural demographic flow because as you grow older, you've worked in more jobs, you've lived in more areas, you just naturally know more people, right? And that same shifts back to when you're younger, whether you're going into colleges. I mean, I transferred colleges so I could just, get a feel for what real college is like. And there would be people joining sororities or fraternities just so that they could know a single person. That's how antisocial some areas are, just because people, they're just not used to it. So there's a natural flow. But honestly, we've had people, whether it ranges from a 55-year-old conservative person, which would naturally say that they dislike technology, to 60-year-olds of saying, hey, I want to find someone to go backpacking with, because you can't just go backpacking with a random person. Like, you're going to be spending 3 days with the dude. You got to enjoy spending time with this guy. To people saying, hey, I want to do cycling things. Whatever the demographic is, we've had a huge amount of interest in it because it just makes the whole process of whether it's hosting events, going to events, or just finding specific people to say, hey, I really want someone to go one-wheeling with, that's in my area, that's actually a cool person who's, has connections to me. Maybe he knows a friend, so he's a second-level connection. But we've seen huge interest. But obviously the most interest is colleges, and that's why we're focusing on that.
And where is it at now? Are you released the app or?
No, so we're still developing it right now. We've got a private beta launch for December 2nd, just to test, make sure the bugs are good. And then a January 10th real launch. And we're going to be launching specifically targeting fraternities and sororities to say, hey, this is going to make it incredibly easy for you guys to get, visibility to your events. And there's just a huge a loss, I don't know what you call it, but just a loss of events of saying, people who would go to the event, but they don't know if their friends are going, and so they don't go, just that uncertainty. So there's already a huge benefit for people hosting their events on here, and we're going to spread through there. And so the app is completely free for individuals to use, and with premium features for organizations, whether that's a college saying, hey, we want, an exclusive area for our students to post events in there so no one outside of the college can go, or maybe it's going to be an apartment complex who says, hey, we really want an exclusive, a place for our residents to develop a community, post events, and get to know each other through there.
And what were you doing before this, John?
Well, I've done a lot of things. I love trying new things, and I get bored quickly, and so I want to do something that really captures my attention. And I've had a really strong work ethic when I was growing up, and part of it influenced by Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was all about, asking how can I, which turns on your brain, versus I can't, which turns off your brain. And so it's like, how can I create the future that I want to have or the life that I want to have? And so I worked a lot throughout middle school and high school. And some of my proudest achievements are becoming a Jimmy John's manager at 15, and then going into restaurants, and then becoming a fine dining server at 18. And then working as a roughneck on an oil rig the day after I graduated high school. So I love doing a lot of different things, whether that's, trying to trying to sell steak, in a really exclusive environment, or seeing if I've got the guts to be a man on an oil rig. I love doing new things, and I love working hard.
How'd the oil rig work out?
It was the craziest time of my life, and I'm glad it's behind me, because man, those guys out there, I've never seen anybody work so hard in my life. And so I've got some serious respect for people, whether it's, Midwest area, or just people who work at, these serious manual labor jobs, like whether that's oil rig or, factories where you're actually working 12 hours a day. But I mean, these guys bust their ass and they work really hard.
Were you were you in the ocean?
No, so I actually worked up in northern Colorado. So it was like you work 12 hours a day at the oil rig, and then you have a 1 hour drive to the trailer park where you stay with 6 other guys.
Damn.
And you do that for 2 weeks straight. And I did it for 6 weeks straight because I really wanted to make some serious money. And plus, when I got on there, I'm this skinny white Catholic dude, and they're all they're like 30, 40-year-old guys. And it's got to be the toughest environment I've ever been in, and so I had to prove to them. What
are you doing? I mean, are you like shoveling something or turning knobs?
Yeah, so I mean, you can just imagine a big oil rig, and so a roughneck is one of the 6 guys on an oil rig that keeps it running 24/7. So two groups of 6 people, and you're basically drilling down into the ground. And that's what roughnecks do, of saying, okay, you drill down in the ground 1 mile down and then 2 miles horizontal. And then frackers come in casing comes in. They lay like a permanent, casing in the hole. And then frackers come in and they get the oil from there. But the drillers are the ones closest to the oil that actually drill the holes. And so that's what I did. And so, you're working at the top of an oil rig. You're working at the bottom of the oil rig, It's pretty tough labor. I mean, you're swinging, like it really does go back to the old days of you've got a group of three guys, just passing around a sledgehammer, each going with the sledgehammer for as long as they can physically take it, and then passing it to the next person, and you're doing that for hours, to pound pipe.
And you're hitting the pipe in the drill hole.
No, we're drilling it down, but you've got lots of oil flow. Going into the hole. And so you've got, some serious high pressure pipes that have, I forget what they're called, but you have to connect them together. And if there's any kind of leak, connecting these means some serious sledgehammer activity, because it's extremely high pressure pipes. So not like, sledgehammering the drilling into the hole, but all the maintenance around it. I mean, this is some complicated stuff. And these guys who work these manual labor jobs, I mean, there's some pretty intelligent dudes out there. And so they're not, college grads, but there's some complicated stuff going on there that can, result in life or death circumstances.
Totally.
So,
wow. What a cool experience. Good for you. Even just for showing up and doing it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, John, I mean, we're really very, very much looking forward to the launch of Rocket, and, keep me.
Yeah, check out GoRocket.com. And it'll be a January 10th launch.
Jan 10, 110. All right, we'll hold you to it.
All right, I like it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on today. It's a fun conversation. And
it was good stuff we talked about. I appreciate it.
Onward and upward.
All right, super. Get out there and go rock your life.
All right, my man. See ya.
All right, see ya.